Hey friends, Pastor Bill Walden here with Build Up the Church. This is a devotional word for August 29th, 2024, out of the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Chapter 11, verse 1 is a bit debated whether it really belonged back with chapter 10 as a final conclusion or as an introductory statement towards chapter 11. Either way, there's arguments to be made each way. It is a bit of a standalone verse, but it could look back to chapter 10, where Paul was talking about doing nothing to stumble your brother, do all things to the glory of God. And then, if it's a verse that looks forward in chapter 11, it talks about the headship of the Father over God the Father over God the Son, the headship of God the Son over man, the headship of man over woman. So it could look back to chapter 10, it could look forward to chapter 11. But as a standalone verse, it carries a lot of weight just on its own. And this is the verse, 1 Corinthians 11, verse 1. The Apostle Paul said, "Imitate me just as I also imitate Christ." You know, it's kind of funny. I've heard over the years, and I'm sentimental towards this humorous approach to this idea of, people have a problem, perhaps Christians maybe have a problem with not driving the speed limit. So I don't want to put a Christian bumper sticker on my car. Or, they maybe don't always behave themselves out in public. So I don't want to wear a Christian t-shirt, let people know that I'm a Christian. And many times, Christians, we can say, and I understand this as well, we can say, don't look at me, look at Christ. And ultimately, everybody should look at Jesus. But they should also be able to look at us. If you're a Christian, people should be able to look at you and see a difference. And I understand, once again, we kind of humorously make fun of ourselves, but I wonder if in our so-called humor, we're giving ourselves a little bit of an escape to say, hey, I'm not the example here. Well, my question would be, why not? Certainly, we're not perfect like Jesus was and is. But if your life's been changed, and if you're a Christian, I hope your life has been changed, it's looking more like Jesus all the time. Or it should be, at least, increasingly looking more like Jesus. The Apostle Paul tells us in Romans chapter 8 that it's the plan of God the Father to conform us into the image of his Son, to make our lives look increasingly more like Jesus. Now, God the Father could just snap his fingers maybe and we would be perfect, but he doesn't snap his fingers. He doesn't make us perfect. We work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. But as you do that, as you have a heart to follow Jesus, I want to encourage you, as the Apostle Paul used himself as an example. He said, imitate me as I imitate Christ, that you would also be able to say, hey, hopefully my life is making a difference in your presence. You know, if you're wondering what Jesus is like, hopefully you can be able to look at me and see some of Jesus Christ in this world. And, we don't do that as a way of bragging or patting ourselves on the back or congratulating ourselves for being perfect. We know in all honesty that we fail often as Christians. But are you willing to say to somebody, hey, look I hope that you can look at me and see a bit of what Jesus looks like. The Apostle Paul told Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, he told Timothy, his young protege, pastor, his young pastor that was coming up after him, he said, Timothy, be an example to the believers in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. In all of those things, Timothy, be an example, be somebody that the Christians can look up to. Somebody that the Christians can say, I really admire his life. And if, we broaden the application, I really admire her life. I want my life to increasingly look like theirs because their life, as far as I understand it, looks like Jesus. So if you're a Christian, I want you to take on that willing attitude of thinking, I want to look like Jesus. Not fake it till you make it or something like that, but to say, in all honesty, I want my life to look like Christ. And I hope that when people look at me, Lord, by your grace, they get a bit of a view, a bit of an understanding, a bit of a more clear understanding of who you are, Jesus. So, Christian, start praying, Lord, let my life look like yours so people can see you. So, something to think about. Thanks for watching.